You're listening to Eyes on the Ground. I'm Slade Ham, comedian, writer, explorer. I'll be your host. If you don't know Ali Siddiq yet, it's okay. You will. It's inevitable. I met Ali a year or two into his career, just a few months before I began stand-up myself. And I remember watching him take a standing ovation as a support act for another very successful comedian at the time. It was magic. What I didn't know was that I was watching a kid freshly released from prison, before appearances on BET, HBO, and Comedy Central, on a mission to do something different. Ali was arrested for dealing drugs when he was still in his teens and served 6 years of a 15-year prison term. The journey is well documented in his Comedy Central special, It's Bigger Than These Bars, a special that came after he nonchalantly won the network's Up Next contest in 2013. And all along the way, he's remained one of the most prolific stand-up comedians in a generation. Ali Siddiq and I talk about what inspires him to turn something into comedy.
When they say, don't put your hand under a lawnmower, they actually mean that. Like they said, they mean it. Like when you read on there, it says,
but they shouldn't have to put that on the box.
And I thought that they should never have to put that on the box. But apparently, when something gets stuck, you need to cut the lawnmower off. You just can't turn it over and then, and I'm talking not turn over like by the handles, like reach down and turn. You can't do that.
How old were you?
Wednesday. Wednesday. This almost happens Wednesday. Like I thought about it. Like, and I couldn't even believe that I even had to think that far. Some said, hey, I was about to reach, and some said, hey man, cut that lawnmower off.
How far did your hand get before
like
your
my
brain?
My hand was going toward, like I was like hand on the top of it and going towards it, and some said
your brain's doing that, tapping you on the shoulder like you dropped some at the grocery. Hey. Yo, man.
Hey, do you like your fingers?
So you reaching down for that lawnmower like that. I know the whole process. That the jarring moment, it stops, your brain starts going into comedy mode. What am I going to do with this thought? Obviously, you're marinating on the thought right now. What does that turn into on stage for you? That one leaning in and stopping yourself moment with the lawnmower. What does that possibly become for you?
It leads into mistakes. Like, yo, it's a lot of adult male mistakes. I'm like things that women would never do. One, she would not have the lawnmower. The grass could be rainforest high. She's still not gonna mow this grass. Lawnmowers out there, gas, everything. You've seen the process. You know to pull it. You know to push. You know that's still not gonna happen. But I put it in a category, and then I start placing it in certain places.
Do you find more things that you've already been toying with, or do you write new things, or is it just everything goes in that bucket?
Everything goes, man. Changing the air vents in the house. You actually need somebody. You actually need to put that ladder up against something. I'm not saying that concussions are good, but sometimes concussions are teaching lessons, are moments of talk. Like when you fall back and then you hit your head on the top of your bedroom door, and doors open, so you boom, and now you just on your back, and you just hope that you get up before everybody comes home. You've been told before, hey, I'll hold a ladder for you. But, I'm a man. I do it myself. Who don't know how to change the air filter? But then when you click the thing and it comes down so fast, and instead of you catching it, you start putting things in boxes and like, yo, I'm going to do 15 minutes on mistakes I've made. And then I'm gonna beat that into, okay, I'm gonna have this. Where am I going after this that matches this? okay, let me go into, okay, I'm not scary. I'm not scared of human beings at all. Not scared of human beings at all. But, okay, a surprise lizard, I'm not even scared of lizards, but a surprise lizard is different from, we talking about a surprise lizard. We talking about a lizard that you did not know was there.
Right.
And you go in your shed and you unlock the shed and the lizard like, and then you didn't know that you was still as quick, but your body is not quick. Your body is like, yo, man, I just heard something. and so then you go into all the things that you have been leery of. Then you go into, you reach back to something that you have done before that you hadn't done in a while that motivates you from all these different beats. Now you over here and now you like, yo, how many people live with other people? Like, people who live by themselves are not as scary as people who live with other people. Because the thing is, when you live with other people, you come home and you're accustomed to stuff being on, and you know somebody already in there. But then I say, okay, married men, where all the married men? And then I go into, hey, where all the married men at? You don't know how scary you are as a married man because you haven't been home by yourself in a long time. So then you start talking to the who married? Then like, when last time you been home by yourself? In decades. And I'm not talking about home where she gone somewhere and then you just at the house for 15, 20 minutes by yourself. We're talking about you know that she not coming home.
Right.
So you pull into your house and it's nothing on. And you like,
when you're putting all that together, that's so different than someone who just stays on one. Like that's the same subject, but that's 5 different things as you're pinballing and moving and going out and sort of, they're not even segues. They're just not, it's almost like is it like a conversation where you're leading every part versus let's just stay on the same stupid subject?
I've been big on continuity for the mass majority of my career. It may be 2 years where I wasn't because I didn't know, I didn't understand. But ever since I've understood continuity, because I know what frustrates me as a consumer. I've looked at comics as a consumer. Okay, he's talking about children. Now he's masturbating and he riding a unicycle. Who like flowers? You know what I'm saying? Like, and you like, what? Like, I hate all of this because it's no edges and flows to it. It's like like, it's like you trying to shock me. You trying to shock me for 60 minutes. I'm not surprised anymore. Like,
right.
So if I'm making sense, if I'm constantly making sense, and then I just go back, hey, and I'm talking about just out of nowhere, you say, look, I don't like having sex with pregnant women. It's like, boom, like, what did he just say? But it's a reason. Like, I'm finna give a real reason. I go into the whole thing about how I view that. And then I'm segueing to something else that's along the same lines, but more toned down. So it's a balance, man. And I want to always leave people with some thought about something. I learned this from Billy D. Washington. This is the difference between me and a lot of other comedians. I still don't think that I'm good. I'm not where I think that I'm going. So I don't stop my growth by thinking, oh, I'm good now. So I still learn advice from other comedians. And when Billy D. Washington told me, hey, Ali, when you're on stage, when you're not being funny, be interested. So I took that and I've held on to it. And that's a lot of my philosophy in stand-up. You know,
what does that mean to you?
It's like sometimes be funny, sometimes be interesting, conversational, combative, be able to debate, hold a perspective on something. It's a lot of layers to what he says. A simple sentence, but a lot of layers to it to achieve, and and then DL thing was the funniest that you're going to ever be is based upon how honest you want to be. So now you have honesty, being funny, being interesting. And see, being interesting has something to do with being honest. You know what I'm saying? And talking from a very honest position about things that may interest somebody, maybe, it's a lot of layers to this cake, man. And then you want to be comfortable. A lot of comics are like, oh, Ali, you very comfortable. I'm comfortable in my skin because I have these other elements that other comics gave to me.
I probably should have mentioned that about Ali. There is an enormous confidence that jerks the reins right before it steps into ego. It's worth paying attention to because the only way up requires confidence, while everything and everyone around you is demanding humility. Without breaking down all the details, it's evident that Ali has figured out what his strengths are and embraced them, and in an industry that never has the artist's best interests at heart, he's chosen to put his focus on the things he can control. That's an immense decision. And what's most in Ali's control? Well, only the stand-up comedy he produces. We'll get into his journey to winner of Comedy Central's Up Next competition, but first, I want to know what Ali's definition is of the greatest comedian ever.
Man, it's like I think my addiction is because I don't see movies and sitcoms. That's based on the power of somebody else. But what I can control, how many albums, how many specials. So, and then I have this disdain, a bitter disdain for people declaring people great comics because they have movies or sitcoms versus their stand-up.
Amen.
So I want to put so much stand-up content out there in a form where you like, well, when somebody say, well, man, this is one of the greatest comics. Wait a minute, wait. Do you know who Ali Siddiq is? It's like
that's
Ali got 14 albums and Ali has 7 specials. Like you can't just base it on the movie. Well, was he in the movie? No, he wasn't in the movie. He had 7 specials and 14 albums. What are you talking about?
Do you want to act like that? Do you want to be in movies, or is it just really there's the desire is all to do self-created content?
I'm more of a like this. This is a weird thing. This is probably the weirdest answer you'll probably get on this one. So you get out of prison, and your goal when you get out is people ask you what you're gonna do when you get out, and you say, I'm gonna become a stand-up comedian. And people are like, well, I can see that. Man, you funny dude. So you get out and you place this whole goal on becoming a comedian. And not just a comic, somebody that people know and somebody that people pay to see money to come see. You know what I'm saying? And this is how you make your livelihood. So you hit that benchmark. You hit that benchmark of becoming a comedian. So then you say, well, I want to do albums. You do that. I want to do a special. You do that. So you've achieved your goal. So anything else somebody come and serve you is dessert. Because you got the main meal. So that's how I see movies, sitcoms, voiceovers, all that is just icing. You got the cake. You know what I'm saying? The cake is good without icing. You like, I'm cool. So if it comes, it comes. But the goal is to put another layer on this delicious cake.
Walk me through. I remember when, oh God, what year was it that you won the Up Next, Comedy Central's Up Next? 12?
2013.
13. So that round in Houston, I was there that night. I don't want to say that's the beginning of these big televised things for you, but that was a pretty pivotal moment winning the Up Next and getting on Comedy Central's radar. Was it, or was it not?
Yes. The television thing.
And we don't have to dwell on it. I'm asking for a reason.
Yeah, the television thing goes back to 2000 with Comic View, and then Off the Chain and all the rest of those things. Who's got jokes, and then.
But did any of those push you into like mainstream clubs, or were you still sort of staying in the black circuit?
Let me tell you how the mainstream thing, which is crazy. Rob Stapleton, one of the kings of New York, kings of comedy of New York, called me in 2007. I'll never forget it. Like it was like yesterday. He called me in 2007, and he was like, "Yo, get out of those chilling circuit rooms. Like, get out of them. You need to go to a mainstream room." So 2 weeks later, Malik S calls me and says that DL wants a host at the Improv. Improv is paying $50.
Yep, a show
for a host, and I'm like, no. But then I remember what Rob Stapleton told me. I was gonna have to take a pay cut. He broke it all down to me. So then I went. I hosted for DL. DL invited me on the road. 2007. First show, Austin. Lily White, whole audience, Lily White. Doing my thing, which led me to wait a minute. I translate everywhere. This is what Rob saw early on. 2008, I go on Def Jam. Clean set, different than everybody else's. Become season finale, standing ovation, X, Y, and Z. Then I go on the road with another comic that has this mainstream type of following, which is Bill Bellamy.
Oh yeah.
Did the Ladies Night Out tour, did the Showtime thing there, did a special with him on Showtime. Then Raymond is calling me, the GM of the Improv. He's calling me to do everything. Like if somebody come in town, I'm hosting. If somebody come in town, I'm featuring. And it's with whoever, Maz Jobrani, Bobby Lee, Angela Johnson. Doesn't matter who it is. And I'm coming and I'm in front of those audiences, and I am slaughtering these audiences. And I'm not even, in my mind, I'm not even doing my best work. So this is like all gearing me towards mainstream. So then when I get the call to do the audition, to do the competition for, which I get the call from Raymond, "Hey man, you got to do this competition, X, Y, Z." I'm like, no.
We'll get right back to the story, which I've left pretty much unedited for two reasons. One, because we're looking at a progression that happened over years, so I thought that might get rid of any silly delusions that this sort of thing happens overnight. And two, because it really emphasizes something about Ali that took me a long time to discover as an artist. If your goals don't hinge on any particular entity for success, if, as in this instance, your goal is to become the most prolific comedian in your class, you don't need anyone else. It leaves nothing to chance or luck or to the tastes of some network executive who wouldn't know comedy if it punched them in the face. I told Ali that I remembered that on the night he won the preliminary round in Houston, it looked like he honestly didn't care.
I'm glad you said that. So we do Austin, right? Austin, and I will say this, Austin, oh my God. Okay, so Comedy Central was filming Austin. So it wasn't just up to Austin. It was up to the people who saw the tape. Okay. Do you know they clapped for every single comedian from Austin Every single one, like roars of claps. And I walked on, it's like from Houston, Ali Siddiq, and he was like this. What are you gonna do? They didn't even clap. So you can, and that's on tape. That's on tape. And I destroyed. They had no, and they was trying not to laugh. They was doing their best. And I was like, and my whole cavalier was like, man, I don't even care. Y'all understand? I don't even care. Like y'all, I'm more irritated that I had to come down here than he. So I get the call and it's like, yo, you going to Chicago. So that's the next stage. So I get to Chicago. This is the funniest part of the story to me that tickles me to death. So I do my set in Chicago, and I'm literally outside talking to a group of people. Like Schaumburg, I'm in this hallway, I'm talking to a group of people. We talking, and they come and say, hey, Ali, they need you inside. And this is me. This is my exact conversation. I say, hey, y'all, let me go in here. They gotta take some pictures, of everybody who was in the performance. So I'll be right back. And so the people came in with me. They was like, so I walk on stage. It's the host is on stage, this other guy, and then I walk on stage and I put my arm around the dude. I'm like, what's up with the picture? Like, yeah, come on, man. I got people. I'm talking to people out here, man. So I'm ready to go home, man. I'm just gonna take this picture and get on out. They like, Ali, do you know what's going on? I'm like, yeah, we taking a picture.
Not a clue. You were disconnected.
I'm like, yeah, we taking a picture, for the book,
So you checked out. You finished your set. You were done. This was
I'm done. I am done. I'm ready to go home. You know what I'm saying? I'm like this. No picture. So why you moving? I'm like, why you moving? You don't want no picture? So I'm like, no, man, you just advanced to New York. And I was like, oh, okay. So we did some interviews. So I get to New York, and this lady, this blonde lady, blue eyes, very nice woman by the name of Ann. Ann is the developer for Comedy Central. She is big. Ann is, put it like this, Ann is on every project that I've ever done with Comedy Central to this day. So, and I'm sitting there, everybody is all gassed up and nervous about going up at Caroline's, and I'm just sitting there like this. And Ann is talking to me about the show. Well, how do you feel about how the show's going? I'm like, man, it's a competition, man. It is what it is. I have no clue who Ann is. I'm like, man, it is what it is. This doesn't define how good somebody is or how good they not. It's just competition, man.
And this is really your mindset right then. You're in the third round of Comedy Central. Now you're on to the finals, right? You just won the third round. Now you're in the finals. It's up. You're at Caroline's. You're sitting there. It's you and what I'm imagining 9 other people or something similar.
Yeah, like 9 other people, and I'm like,
you don't have the weight of any of this on you.
None of this. And Ann says to me, like, we've had a 10-minute conversation, and people getting ready and saying rehearsing their sets and all the rest of that. And Ann says, you really don't care about this competition, do you? And I said, not in the least bit. Like, not, I'm talking about, I say, ma'am, I wish I could muster up that type of energy to care about this. But I'm not in that headspace. I'm gonna go out here, I'm gonna do my 5 to 7 minutes, and then I'm gonna go hit this other spot while I'm in the city and hang out, and then I'm going home, man. So it happens, and then they say, well, it's gonna be left up to the votes on Facebook. This is when I get interested, right? After they put up all the sets, I have the most viewed set, but I have the least amount of votes. And so I go on Facebook and go off. I'm like, yo, do y'all not know y'all supposed to vote for me? This is retarded. Like, why y'all keep watching it and not voting? Y'all like, it doesn't even make sense. So the next morning when they supposed to announce the winners based upon the voting by America, I think I beat everybody by like maybe 500,000 votes or something close to that.
Wow.
Somewhere up in there, but I was behind by quite a bit. And they're not telling nobody who's going to win. They just going to post it up, and everybody's waiting on the thing. And I'm sitting there like, I'm not even going to go on there, man. This is crazy. I had all these views and no votes. It's dumb. And then I started blaming black people. I'm like, black people don't even know how to do no competition. It's dumb. I said, man, look at all these white computer nerds just constantly voting for these people. And, I went straight racial with it. And then it get announced. And people start calling me. They like, yo, you won. I was like, won what? This Publishers Clearinghouse? It's like, no, Lee, this me, this Corey. It's like, what's up, Corey? Man, I'm on Facebook, dude, on Comedy Central joint. You just won. I'm like, hold on, let me go on there and see. Wow, I did just win.
I mentioned control earlier. I'm as guilty as any of us of hanging my hopes on things I have no final say in. And this certainly isn't to cry sour grapes or pretend that it's wise to ignore the power of the networks or that they can get you in front of enormous amounts of people very quickly. But that can't be the plan. Not plan A, anyway. That is a long, uphill trudge just to scratch off a lottery ticket. Better, I think, to focus on building mountains of great material and taking advantage of the big opportunities when they come without placing too much importance on them. But it also means that when those opportunities do come, you remove their ability to portray you as anything other than yourself. What scares Ali Siddiq?
Somebody leaving my material on the editing floor. That's terrifying. Ever since it happened, I did this the Centric AllStars. And the only reason I really want to take it back is not based upon my performance, because I got a standing ovation. And that's the crazy thing. They gave you 11 minutes, and on the show was Bill Bellamy was hosting. George Wallace did the warm up in Vegas.
So good.
He did the warm up. Eric Griffin, Gina Yashram, Rudy Rush, D.L. Hughley, Tony Roberts. We were honoring Michael Townsend, and somebody else is on this show that I'm forgetting. Rob Stapleton, I think. If I'm not, I have a picture of it somewhere. I know the whole lineup. So I went. They kept switching me in the order because it's the person who was producing the show, mm-hmm. And they was not understanding that, man. I'm not what you think, because you never really seen me perform, so I'm not what you think, and you underestimate me. So at first I was supposed to go behind Tony Roberts, and they was like, "Oh no, Tony got too much energy for him." I'm like, but I'm a pro, man. I don't care who go in front of me. You know what I'm saying? What people better be concerned is who go behind me. And so they switched the order, and DL was like, "Ooh, bad move. Y'all done made him mad." And if y'all they say, I know him. You know what I'm saying? He was doing an hour before me every night for 4 years. So Bill was like real complacent with it, like, because Bill loves Tony Roberts. And it gave me another gusto, another gear, like, man, okay. And DL kept telling people, they was like, y'all in trouble, man. Y'all done made this man mad, and
he's gonna burn this to the ground.
You disrespecting him, and it's crazy. So I go out and I get a standing ovation. And Tony Roberts told me, he said, man, I'm standing right next to the production people. And the production man calls down from the booth to another production dude, say, hey, what we gonna do now? the first comic out just got a standing ovation. And Tony said, I told y'all. And DL, they was like, yo, Ali just got a standing ovation. And DL leans out of his dressing room and say, what y'all think he was gonna do? Because y'all made him mad, man. He was like, you don't wake up, you don't poke at a bear, man. You leave him alone. And how they got me back was they edited. Everybody's supposed to get 11 minutes, man. I did 10:45. 10 minutes, 45 seconds. They edited me down to 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And I hated it, man. And I hate it. It's one of the worst experiences of my entire career. And the person who produced it, I vowed never to talk to them or work with them again. Me and Bill Bellamy, because he was the executive producer on it. I didn't talk to Bill for a while, and I expressed it to him how violently mad I was about it, because you don't do nobody like that. You know what I'm saying? They got a standing ovation. They did a good job. You show that. You don't clip that down to nothing. And the way that they edited my set, it made me look amateur. And I was like, yo, man. And this is how I think, so for the people to understand how serious this is to me. When I'm on TV, when I'm on television, and they give me a certain amount of time, I edit my own set. I don't need them to edit me.
Right.
I take out the breath that don't need to be there. I take out the pauses. I trim it down. I don't leave. Every time I was on Comic View, I got a standing ovation. Why? Because when they give you 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I do 4:24. If you give me 7 minutes, I'm doing 6:45. Because I'm getting it to the cut. I'm cutting it. Like my special, I edited my special. Like I flew. They sent me like 3 different edits, and I was like, nah, y'all not getting it. And so I flew to New York and sat down with this wonderful Emmy Award-winning editor, and I said, okay, this is the only thing that's wrong with this special. Only thing. And they went through it 3 or 4 times, sent me all these copies. I said, you're taking pieces out that matter. So I need you to run all the way this. Stop right there. Now, fast forward. Take this, bring that back right there. And now run it. And they ran it. And they was like, that does flow better. Yes. Because of the continuity of the joke. Because now if you leave it like you have it, it's like I'm lying and I don't make sense.
For the comedian interested in building a set instead of just a collection of loose jokes, I've included this final segment. How does Ali Siddiq build a new show from the ground up?
I write the title. Once I figure out the title, then I start A, B, C, D, E. That's one topic. This point. Then I get to B. Next topic. And A, B, C, D, E again in that topic. But it's all centered around tying together what that title is. Staying within the framework of that title. So it's like writing a speech and you have 14 points, but you have it broken up in sections of 7. Mm-hmm. And that's my mindset. And then the visual. And then you have a C category of things that you will say in between things. Like this is things that can be said or not be said. but you do have your leading sentence of how everything is connected together. Like the name of this next special was crazy. Is I worked under one title, and then when I look back at the material, I should just call it 1983. You know what I'm saying? Which is when I was 10 years old. And this is a pivotal change in who I was from the time I was 10 up until 9 years later. Because the whole thing is based on how I got to prison, not me being in prison, my life up until that point, or how I land in that position.
How old were you when you started selling?
14.
Wow. And that's all in there.
Yeah, that's all in there. But
that doesn't laying all that out there doesn't scare you.
Mm-mm.
And he's not joking. I'm inspired by the definitiveness of action, by the willingness to take accountability for his own success. That's powerful, taking the decision out of anyone's hands but our own when it comes to what we make and how we're remembered. In Houston, Ali is well known as a philanthropist. And in parts of this interview that have been omitted, he speaks candidly about guilt over his days as what he refers to as a former street pharmaceutical rep. And I think that's a big takeaway from Ali's story as well. That we're not limited in any way by what we were or where we came from. That changing your direction is as easy as deciding to. And that what looks like an absence of fear may in fact really just be the mastery of it. You can watch Ali in It's Bigger Than These Bars on Comedy Central. Or for Ali's entire catalog, visit alisiddiq.com. Eyes on the Ground is produced by me, Slade. Additional production and music provided by Brian Carrion. To support future projects like this, please consider contributing to my Patreon or subscribing to me on all things social media at Slade Ham. SLADEHAM.